Howdy, y'all, and welcome to WiiHaw, the video series documenting my trials, tribulations, and triumphs of building a collection for the Nintendo Wii. First, allow me to briefly explain my history with the console. I was living in Seattle around 2006 when the Wii dropped, and as many of you know, it was insanely popular at the time. Regardless, I headed out to Pacific Place Mall with the hopes of bagging one. Unfortunately, I was put on a waiting list for about 3 months. Despite all that, it was still a very happy day when my number was finally called. Obviously, everybody knows that Wii Sports was a huge hit with any group of friends, but I had many happy years with multiple Wii titles until eventually I traded it in for the next shiny new console. This is something I've personally done time and time again in my own gaming history, and I have to tell you, I have deep regrets of all the wonderful consoles that I gave away all too easily. Fast forward to late June of 2023, and I was gifted a Nintendo Wii console, complete with quite a few notable games. It came with Wii Sports Resort, so I was able to relive my Wii Sports glory days all anew. Mario Kart Wii, an excellent title, as I'm sure many of you know. Also, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. I did try this recently. I didn't have the best time with it. Super Mario Galaxy, a classic. A few other shovelware titles that I won't go into, but Wii Play. A lot of people have fond memories of that one. New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Rayman Raving Rabbids 2, the sequel. And after hooking it all up and playing some games with my family, I was surprised by how much nostalgia I had for the console. Up to that point, I had, like many others, looked back on the Wii as a gimmick and a failed attempt at putting motion controls in gaming. But here I am in 2023, extremely excited to start building a collection of all my favorite titles from back in the day, and also some of the titles that passed me by during my initial ownership of the console. So I compiled a list of the games that I'll have my eye out for. I kind of broke them into different categories. I have most wanted. Those will be the titles that I may be willing to overspend a little on. By the way, all the games on this list I am seeking to get complete in box. All of them I want to acquire complete in box with the manual. I have another category listed as eventually. These are games that I have my eye on. They're the essential titles. Some of them are ones that I owned back in the day and had already played, so I don't have as much of a desire to get those games. The third category is for the right price. And most of the games in this category are some of the higher priced, rarer games that I will only want. I'll set a goal for myself, is how I should put it. I'll set a goal for a price that I'm willing to pay for that game. And if I put it on video, you guys could all hold me accountable to it. And I'm going to try to get those games at the price I state without going over it. But first, let me start with my most wanted games. Again, these are the ones I'll be willing to overpay a little bit for. And as soon as I got the Wii, there was one title that passed me by when I initially had it, and I just had to get my hands on it. I am a huge Punch-Out fan, and I loved the original title on the NES. So I somehow passed up Punch-Out for the Wii when it was initially released, and I definitely had to get that title. It was the number one on my most wanted list for me personally. So it typically goes for about $34 complete in box. I ended up spending $35. Not the end of the world. The $35 is right within that price range. I was very happy to get it at that price. Another game that I really enjoyed during when I first had the Wii was Dead Space Extraction. I'm a big fan of survival horror, and the rail shooter aspect of Dead Space Extraction just was incredible. I thought the story was great. I thought the context it added to the original game was phenomenal. And I have won a bid on that. It is currently in transit. It was part of a lot, actually, so it came with like 7 other games. The other games I'm not so much interested in, but I'll share them with you next episode. And Dead Space Extraction typically goes for about $25. I was somehow able to get this lot for $16. Another one on my most wanted list. This is a higher priced game. It's Silent Hill Shattered Memories. It's $85 is the typical value of it, but I'm willing to spend that much if it means getting my hands on it. I like I said, big fan of survival horror, and it's a game that passed me by, and I think I really want to delve into it and give it a try. So to finish out the most wanted list, I have Muramasa the Demon Blade. Typically goes for around $31. Red Steel 2, about $11. Elabits, $9. Mad World for $12. Overlord Dark Legend for $10. Sin and Punishment Star Successor, which typically goes for about $30. WarioWare Smooth Move, the value is about $20. I want to get a Guitar Hero game with a peripheral. I think that would be a very fun thing to break out and play with my family. It's something you don't see a lot of anymore, and I am looking to acquire one of those titles with a peripheral, and they go from anywhere between $12 and $50 depending on if you're getting the game or if you're getting it with a peripheral, or which title you're getting. There were a few that released for the Nintendo Wii. For me, I probably would prefer World Tour because it was the one I played a lot of, but I'm willing to get any one of them. Another title I want to play is Epic Mickey. I've heard very good things about it and never had an opportunity to play it. It goes for about $7, so very reasonable. I also want to get the rail shooters, Umbrella Chronicles and the Dark Side Chronicles, and there's actually a 2-disc set that you can get that's valued at about $60, so I'll be looking out for that one. Endless Ocean Blue World is another title I want to get. Very chill, relaxing ocean exploration game. It goes for about $12. And then another rail shooter, House of the Dead Overkill, which is valued at about $25. And those are the ones that, when I go out seeking games, they're going to be the titles I look for. If they're a part of a lot or a bundle, I would be willing to spend a little more and get whatever else comes with it. The next category I want to get into is games that I'll eventually get. These are the titles everybody knows, the big ones: Skyward Sword, Monster Hunter Tri, Twilight Princess, Super Paper Mario, Mario Galaxy 2, since I was lucky enough to get the first one with the Wii, the Prime Trilogy, No More Heroes 2, Rhythm Heaven Fever, Donkey Kong Country Returns, Boom Blocks, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Zack and Wiki, The Quest for Barbaro's Treasure. This almost made my most wanted list because it's a really good game. I did have it when I had the Wii, so I have played it before, but I will eventually get my hands on it again. It's that good of a title. I just don't really want to prioritize getting it. Another similar title that I played when I originally had the Wii was Deadly Creatures, and that's also on my eventually list because I had played through it, but it's a really good title, so it made the list. Also, Rayman Origins, and finally, the Michael Jackson Experience, because I have a really good memory of playing this with my family and a bunch of my cousins and just having such a fun time with it. And so yeah, it's definitely a game I think I will eventually get my hands on. I have a little shorter list for the right price. As I said, these are games that may be priced a little more, but I'm only willing to spend so much on them, either because I played them before or just because the price they go for is ridiculous and I won't pay that much for a game. To start off the list, it's new Play Control Pikmin. I recently played the Pikmin 4 demo and really enjoyed it, and I have fond memories of playing the original Pikmin on GameCube, so I would be interested in getting the new Play Control for the Wii. I've heard really good things about it, and it typically goes for about $42. I'm only willing to spend about $30 to $35 on it, so I won't spend more than that. Another good title is The Last Story on my For the Right Price list. This is a game I did not play at all, hadn't heard anything about. I've recently grown to enjoying JRPGs a lot more than I used to. Thank you to Final Fantasy 16, the Final Fantasy 7 remake, and Strangers of Paradise for making that happen. The game was created by Hironobu Sakaguchi, so it definitely has the pedigree behind it, and a lot of people say it's the best RPG for the Wii, so I definitely do want to get it. It currently goes for around $62. I'm willing to go to $40 for it, so we'll see if I'm able to acquire it at that price. That might be one that stays on this For the Right Price list for quite some time, because I could see it being a problem getting it for $40. Moving on to the next game, it's Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. This is widely regarded as the best fighting game outside of Brawl for the Nintendo Wii, and it's a very interesting combination too. I do enjoy fighting games. I like all the versus Capcom games. I love the Marvel versus Capcom games. So this goes for about $45, and if I see it for 30, I'd pick it up for sure. The next game is probably the most ridiculously priced game on my list, and that's Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. I'm sure it's valued at this much because of its rarity, and I'm have no doubt it's a great title, but it currently goes for about $133. So my goal is to get it under $100. I may never get it at that price, but we'll see. You know, I do plan on putting a lot of effort into building this collection and sharing that journey with you all. So maybe I'll stumble upon it at the right place at the right time and find it for less than $100. We'll see. The next title, Xenoblade Chronicles, another big RPG, valued at about $29, and if I see it for $20, I would pick it up. A Boy and His Blob. This is a less expensive game. It goes for about $17, and the art style is really cool. And I'm not that interested in the game, which is why I would only pick this up if I found it for about $10. I just think the art style looks cool. I've heard good things about it, so my interest is piqued slightly, but I'm not willing to spend the full price on it. This is one that if it's part of a lot, all the better. You know, if it has one of my most wanted games in the lot, then I will definitely consider it. And then Kirby's Epic Yarn is another one that's kind of in the same boat with A Boy and His Blob. I've heard very good things. If it's the right price, it's currently goes for around $18. It's another one I'd be willing to spend $10, or maybe spend a little more on a lot that it's a part of, or a bundle that it's a part of. And the final game on my For the Right Price list is Cursed Mountain, the limited edition one. I want, why not, right? So it goes for about $53, and I am willing to spend $40. So I'm setting these goals again, kind of to hold myself accountable to not overspend. And these are hopeful ones. I expect this to be a very long journey, a lot of trips along the way, and a lot of places that I plan to visit. So these are eventual titles that, you know, like I said, if I stumble across the right place at the right time and find them at that right price, I'll definitely pick them up. So I'll also be sharing this list on our Patreon and in our Discord if you'd like to follow along and see if I'm willing to complete this journey for this initial list. I'm sure I'll be adding more titles to it as time goes on, and you know, hopefully you all could hold me accountable to the prices that I said I'm willing to spend on these games. For future episodes, you could expect checklist updates, pictures and details of my hauls, including the cost and games that I miss out on. So this will also be stories of auctions that I was a part of that maybe I didn't end up winning. You know, I think that's something that comes hand in hand with collecting. It's not always about what you get and how good of a bargain you get. It's also sometimes that regret of missing out on something, but also the patience that it requires to not overspend. So I plan on, you know, detailing some of my personal feelings on that in future episodes. I'll also be sharing personal stories of all the games I acquire, along with any footage of trips I take or retro gaming stores that I visit locally. I'd even eventually like to go to some retro gaming conventions and share that experience with you all. So I just want to close with saying I'm really excited to share this with you guys, and I thank you all for joining me on this adventure, and thank you for joining me on the first episode. I hope you all stay tuned, and I can't wait to share this collection with you, and I'll probably also be sharing some photos as the collection grows of where it lives in my house. So stay tuned for that. Bye.